If your no comes with an apology, an explanation, a backup solution, a nervous laugh, and a full customer service tone, you might just be a no boundaries Barbara. And let me say this with love. You may not have a time management problem. You may have an access problem. No boundaries Barbara is the woman everybody can reach. Everybody can ask. Everybody can interrupt. Everybody can vent to, everybody can depend on, and everybody can pull from before she even gets access to herself. Then she wonders why she is tired, irritated, behind, and low key resentful. Barbara is not lazy. She is not irresponsible. She is not failing at adulthood because she does not care about her life. She is struggling because too many people have access to her time, energy, attention, and peace. Okay. So today we're talking about no boundaries, Barbara, what she looks like in real life, how weak boundaries make adulthood feel heavier than it has to be, and how to start protecting your capacity without turning into a cold, unavailable villain, right? Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Kiara Ivy, aka Kiara the Concrete Rose, aka your lifestyle design bestie. And around here, we talk about lifestyle design, adulting, soft life strategy, personal growth, and building a life that actually feels like yours. So, this video is part of my Adulting Is Ghetto Avatar series based on my book, Adulting is Ghetto, a no BS guide to organizing your life, managing your money, and getting your shit together. In this series, we are breaking down the patterns that make adulting feel harder than it has to be. Not so we can shame ourselves, but so we can name the pattern and finally do something useful with it, right? So today we are talking about no boundaries. Barbara. Barbara is the woman whose life keeps getting pushed to the side, but because everybody else's needs, emergencies, feelings, expectations, and just last minute requests keep cutting the line. She is always squeezing somebody in, helping somebody out, taking one more call, answering one more message, making another exception, and carrying one more thing that was never really hers to carry in the first place. And by the time Barbara finally gets to her own life, she is already depleted. Okay. Her house still needs attention. Her money still needs attention. Her body still needs attention. Her plans still need attention. Her peace is somewhere in the corner waving the little white flag. Ma'am, do you remember me? Right? And that is no boundaries, Barbara. Let me read a little piece from Adulting is Ghetto so you can hear how I describe her in the book. Barbara is not lazy. She is not undisciplined. She is not incapable of getting her life together. The real issue is that too many people, obligations, and expectations have access to her before she gets access to herself. That is the heart of No Boundaries, Barbara. Okay. Her life is not just full, her life is too available, and that difference matters. No boundaries, Barbara is constantly busy, constantly needed, constantly tired, and somehow still behind in her own life. She says yes when she wants to say no. She agrees before checking her capacity. She answers messages when she is already overwhelmed. She takes calls she does not have the energy for. She lets other people's urgency become her responsibility. And because she is used to being helpful, dependable, and just easy to work with, she does not always recognize how much of her own life is being interrupted. Barbara's no is rarely just no. Her no comes with a paragraph, 3 apologies, a soft voice, and sometimes a whole alternative plan. She will say, I'm so sorry. I hate to do this. And I really wish I could, but unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be able to make it because I have a lot going on. But maybe I can help you find someone else. And please don't be mad. Girl, breathe. You know, you said no. Then you tried to gift wrap the disappointment so nobody would feel it. That is exhausting. Okay. And listen, Barbara is not doing this because she's fake. She is doing it because disappointing people feels dangerous. It feels uncomfortable and selfish and rude for her. She has learned to soften her boundaries so much that by the time they come out, they barely protect her, you know? So her life becomes wide open. Work spills into her evening, family spills into her weekend, friends spill into her emotional bandwidth. Other people's poor planning becomes her inconvenience. Other people's stress becomes her emergency. Other people's expectations become her unpaid side hustle. And now Barbara is not just managing her own adult life, she is subsidizing everybody else's. The tricky thing about No Boundaries Barbara is that she often believes this is what love, loyalty, and responsibility are supposed to look like. She tells herself, I'm just being nice. I'm just being supportive. I'm just helping out. I'm just being here for people. And sometimes that is true. But sometimes being there for people becomes abandoning yourself in slow motion. That is the part we have to tell the truth about. A lot of us were raised to believe that being a good woman means being endlessly available, being helpful, being polite, be understanding, be flexible, be strong, be dependable. Be the one people can count on. Be the one who just makes it all work. And none of those things are bad on their own, right? The problem is when being helpful turns into being overused, when being flexible turns into having no standards, right? When being dependable turns into being drained. When being loving turns into being responsible for everybody's emotional comfort except your own. That is where Barbara gets caught. She does not want to be selfish, so she becomes self-abandoning. She does not want to be mean, so she becomes available past the point of peace. She does not want to disappoint people, so she keeps disappointing herself. And baby, that is still disappointment. It just happens quietly. Weak boundaries cost more than people realize. They cost time because Barbara keeps giving away the hours that she needs for her own responsibilities, right? The time she needed to clean, rest, budget, meal prep, create, study, work on her goals, or just simply sit in silence. And it just keeps getting handed over to other people's requests. They cost energy because every yes pulls from somewhere, even the small yeses, even the quick favors, even the it'll only take a few minutes things. Enough tiny withdrawals will still overdraft your spirit because when everybody has access to you, your nervous system never fully unclenches, right? There's always a message to answer, a problem to solve, a person to soothe, a request to consider, or a guilt trip to manage. And weak boundaries absolutely cost self-respect. That one is tender, but we have to say it because after a while, Barbara starts feeling resentful, not just because people keep asking, but because some part of her knows she keeps saying yes when she means no. You know, some part of her knows she is betraying herself in small ways. Some part of her knows she is giving other people permission to treat her capacity like a community resource. That resentment is information. It is not always proof that everybody around you is terrible. Sometimes it is proof that you have been too available for too long and they're just getting used to it. And that matters because a life without boundaries will always feel heavier than it needs to be. You cannot build peace when your life has no doors. Right? One of the biggest mindset shifts for No Boundaries, Barbara, is understanding that boundaries are not punishment for anyone. A boundary is not you being cold. It is not you being rude. It is not you acting brand new, right? It is not you suddenly becoming unavailable to everyone who loves you. A boundary is simply a limit that protects what matters most. It protects your time. It protects your energy. It protects your attention. It protects your money. It protects your emotional capacity. It protects the parts of your life that cannot survive if everybody else gets unlimited access to you. That is why boundaries are not just a relationship issue. Boundaries are a life management issue. If you do not protect your time, your calendar will stay chaotic. If you do not protect your energy, your routines will keep falling apart. If you do not protect your attention, your priorities will keep getting hijacked. If you do not protect your peace, your nervous system will keep living under everyone else's weather. Barbara has to stop thinking of boundaries as walls that push people away and start seeing them as doors that require discernment. Everybody should not have the same level of access to you. Every request should not become your responsibility. Every disappointment should not become your problem to fix. And every can you does not require a yes, of course. Sometimes the most grown woman answer is, I can't commit to that right now. No essay, no TED Talk, no emotional PowerPoint, just the truth. Now let's make this practical. If you are a no boundaries Barbara, I do not want you to leave this video trying to become a completely different person overnight, right? That will feel fake and you will probably panic the first time somebody looks disappointed, right? So start small. The first move is to pause before you answer. Barbara's biggest problem is that she commits too fast, right? She says yes too fast. Somebody asks her for something, and before she checks her calendar, her energy, her desire, her priorities, or her actual capacity, she just says yes, like she doesn't even think. So your new sentence, your new default is, let me check and get back to you. That sentence creates space. It gives you time to think. It gives your nervous system a second to catch up. It gives the real you a chance to answer, not the people pleasing version of you who starts performing before you even know what you want. The second move is to stop over explaining. You do not have to build a legal case for every boundary. Okay? Try saying, I can't make it this time. I don't have the capacity for that. That doesn't work for me. I'm not available. I won't be able to take that on. And then stop talking, right? I know the silence will feel illegal at first. You will want to feel it, you know? You will want to soften it. You will want to add a but maybe just to make everybody feel better. Do not do it. Let the sentence stand. The third move is to pay attention to resentment. Resentment can show you where a boundary is missing. If you keep feeling irritated, drained, used, overlooked, or quietly mad, ask yourself, where did I say yes when I meant no? Where did I allow access that I did not actually have capacity for? Where am I expecting people to read my mind instead of setting a clear limit? That question may gather your whole entire life. Because sometimes people are not violating boundaries you never communicated. Sometimes they are walking through doors you keep leaving wide open. Then you are mad they did not magically know the room was closed. We're not doing that anymore. We are closing doors with words. We're using our words, you know? Okay. The real shift for no boundaries, Barbara, is learning that protecting yourself is not the opposite of loving people, right? It is what allows you to love people without resentment. That is the part Barbara needs to fully understand. Boundaries does not make you less loving. They make your love cleaner. They help you show up from choice instead of obligation, from generosity instead of guilt, from capacity instead of depletion. And that's really important, because if you keep giving from depletion, eventually your kindness starts coming with an attitude. Take it from someone who knows. Your yes starts coming with resentment. Your support starts coming with silent bitterness. You may still show up, but now your spirit is mumbling in the background the whole time. Nobody wants that. That is not a soft life. A softer life requires protected capacity. It requires you to stop letting everybody else get the best of you while your own life gets whatever crumbs are left. It requires you to stop treating your time like it belongs to whoever asks first. This is not a first come, first serve basis type of situation. It requires you to stop confusing being needed with being valued. That one might sting, but let it sit. Being needed and being valued are not always the same thing. Some people value your presence. Some people value your labor. Some people value your availability. Some people value the fact that you have not yet learned how to say no without apologizing. Discernment is required. And once Barbara starts practicing discernment, her whole life starts to shift. She has more time for her actual priorities, more energy for her own responsibilities, more peace in her body, just more honesty in her relationships, period. More self-respect in the way that she moves. Not because everyone suddenly becomes easy, but because she stops giving everyone unlimited access. So if you saw yourself in no boundaries, Barbara, please don't beat yourself up, okay? You are not a bad person because you struggle to say no. You are not weak because disappointment makes you uncomfortable, right? You are not foolish because you learn to be overly available as a way to feel safe and loved and needed and accepted. But you are responsible for what you practice next, especially after seeing it for what it truly is. Your assignment this week is simple. Practice one clean boundary, not 10, just one. Say, let me check and get back to you. Say, I don't have the capacity. That doesn't work for me. I can't take that on. Just practice those. Let that be it. Let that sentence be enough. Because your no does not need a paragraph to be valid. If this avatar hit a little too close to home, my book, Adulting Is Ghetto, is on Amazon. It's available on Amazon, and I'll link it in the comments. The book goes deeper into the No Boundaries Barbara avatar, and it also goes into the steady method, which is the framework that the book is built on. And so it's all about building a life that is more organized, more supported, and just less dependent on last minute miracles. But for now, please tell me in the comments, are you a no boundaries, Barbara? And where do you need better boundaries right now? Is it work, family, friends, dating, money, or your own time? Drop it below. And if this conversation resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and stick around because we are going through all 6 of the Adulting is Ghetto avatars one by one, because around here, we are not just laughing about adulting being ghetto, okay? We are getting our lives all the way together, okay? Bye, y'all.